we're just going to dive right in real quick. As all of you guys know, you guys are aware that there are some riots that are starting to happen now in Salt Lake. There's a big difference between a protest and a riot. So a protest is when, people go out, typically the meat and potatoes behind a protest is the number of people that show up and they can, get their message out. But there is dialogue. And, initially with this whole George Floyd incident, which, by the way, in no way am I going to defend any police officer that kneels on the neck of a suspect like that. But that's a subject for another time. That's being handled. The cop has been arrested and charged with murder. So let's go back to what we're doing here right now on this live. A protest is when a bunch of people get together, again, in large number, and they have a dialogue. They have something to say. They want to be heard. But when it turns to violence, when there are people that become endangered and property is endangered or property is being destroyed, that's a whole nother ballgame. And that becomes a riot. And I don't know the dynamic of all of you that are following me, but I cut my teeth, meaning as a rookie, I came out of the academy right in the middle of the Rodney King riots that had started in LA and bled over into Las Vegas. And so when I hit the street, we were still, on the fringes of the back end of those riots. And it was pretty dangerous. Firemen were being shot at when they would respond to a neighborhood to put out a fire. So a lot of things change when there is violence. And what's crazy, what I want everyone here that's on here, what I want you to know and understand is, typically lately in the last decade, the people that are committing like violent acts against property and other people even aren't typically the residents of the neighborhood. A lot of them, Antifa, I think, is a terrorist group, domestic terrorists. They're out there, they're smart, they're organized, and they go on and, they start breaking shit down, and, they break windows, they break doors, and then all of a sudden, all the sheep that are there, right? Sheep, they all follow. And they go in and they start looting and other things start happening. So anyway, all of you need to be aware of that. It can transition from protest to riot pretty quickly. And it's not, number one, it's not worth being there. So don't be there if possible. If you have friends that want to go, I would just tell you guys, you might think you're going to see history or participate in it. It's a very dangerous situation you don't want to find yourself in. No, so obviously we're gonna, even on here, we're gonna have just detractors. We're gonna have people saying stupid stuff just to get attention. I don't give anyone that makes general stupid comments on here the time of day. The whole thing here, let me tell you who the racists are. The racists are the people that have taken this tragic incident with George Floyd and made it into something else. They're the ones that have broken into stores. They're the ones that have ruined the livelihood of these minority store owners in their own neighborhoods whose stores have now been burned to the ground. Those people are the problem, not necessarily the police. Like I said, we have a justice system in place, and I don't care it doesn't matter what occupation you're in, there are always bad actors, including law enforcement. And in this case, we're seeing the wheels of justice turn, and there's been an arrest, there have been charges, and maybe there will be more arrests to follow. But doesn't all of this take away from the whole purpose of what the original protest was, which was justice for George Floyd and maybe other victims of, police brutality and any other actions? going to be really hard to have a conversation about that when you're burning a neighborhood down. So, let's see. I was asked to go speak. I was wrongfully accused by OPDM, but things are going nuts out there, and I don't want to give anyone a reason. Okay, I'm not sure what that's all about, but look, cops are humans. They're going to make mistakes. Sometimes they make a mistake that, isn't necessarily a physical thing. Make an arrest, and later on the arrest didn't qualify and the person is released because it wasn't legit. Other cops, they get emotional, and during an arrest somebody gets hurt that didn't need to be, and those things get dealt with. They should be dealt with. But I want to come back to tonight's conversation. We're talking about going from protest to riot, and this benefits nobody. So if you guys have questions about what's going on, let me know. But I would tell you that once things start being destroyed and people's lives are put in danger, then it changes the dynamic of everything. And I know that a lot of people are wondering, well, where are the police and why aren't they doing anything? And sometimes it's just better to just step back and just say, hey, look, we understand emotions are high. They flipped over an unoccupied police car an hour and a half ago in Salt Lake. They set it on fire, and they went to the public service building, I think the Salt Lake City Police Department, and they vandalized the outside of the building. Emotions are high. Now, one other thing that I want you to understand is a lot of people, good law-abiding citizens that this is frustrating for, are looking and going, dude, where are the cops? These people should be arrested. They should be taken down. Whatever. I understand that, right? Because we have people in the suburbs or in the rural area that are just looking at this, and we just can't comprehend it. It defies logic, which it is totally illogical. You're not getting the point across. The original principle you were trying to make the world aware of, and what your concern is now drowned in flames and smoke. And the people that are suffering are the people in these neighborhoods typically. So, that said, let's come back to that. Are the police not doing anything? No. The protesters are not protesters, I'm sorry, the rioters are idiots. If you think that in that crowd of 200 people burning that police car, there's not 30 undercover cops. There's no need to do anything now. In a week, 2 weeks, you don't see it coming, boom. You got handcuffs on, hey, you're being arrested for this thing or that act or whatever. Dude, everyone's got their cell phone out. Everyone's filming each other. Nobody is hiding anything, even with their masks on. So I just don't want anyone to think, well, nothing's being done. Police have abandoned us. No, they haven't. They're doing their job. But they're using strategy to do their job. And they're being patient. But at the same time, I want you guys to know that if it comes down to people's lives, like legitimately being in danger, you will see a police response, and they'll use whatever force is necessary to protect and save innocent lives. So I just don't want anyone to misconstrue what's going on. But I'm open to questions right now. Anything that you guys wonder about, whether it's your personal safety or the techniques or tactics that the rioters are using. And remember, most of these rioters, the most violent ones, the ones that are inciting everybody, are probably not even from Salt Lake. They're probably from somewhere else. The SWAT team heading to Salt Lake, look, I'm telling you, the SWAT team has been prepped and ready to go, and they're already there wherever they're staging, and they've been there for hours. So that's probably pretty accurate. Not that they're heading there, I'm just telling you they're there, they're staging. Cops are very well prepared for this type of a thing, but at the moment, there's no need. There's no need to provide an opportunity for a physical conflict. And so that's what they're doing. They're just standing by. Best thing to do if you get caught in a riot that's a really good question, because that's happened to a lot of innocent people. It happened to a lady today in Salt Lake. If you can find a side street to get out, get out. That's the best thing that you could do. If you're stuck in traffic and there's nowhere to go, but you see a place that you could safely pull over and then exit your vehicle and go out on foot, I would just tell you, worst comes to worst, you're trapped. There's nowhere to go. It's not worth it. So with the need for force, that's a really good question. And every agency is going to be different about what they're protecting or who they're protecting. But let me give you an example. Let's say that law enforcement is there, they're holding a line, and someone in the crowd starts shooting. Well, who are they shooting? They may be shooting at the police, but if you're shooting at the police, there's going to be a lot of people between you and the cops. So innocent people are going to get hit. You're going to see the police respond as they would on any active shooter incident. So if someone physically breaches a line and is attempting with a weapon to kill or injure an officer, they're going to be dealt with. That's what it comes down to. Water bottles and urine and other garbage that these cops are having to endure that's being thrown at them, that is not necessarily a qualifier for these police officers to break the line, go out there and risk further injury trying to arrest somebody in a crowd of 10,000 people when there's only 500 officers holding the line. So it would have to make sense, but an innocent person's life would really have to be at risk for law enforcement to come in. Law enforcement does have rescue teams ready to go. I know in Las Vegas, we trained often for this type of an event, especially following Rodney King. And we had rescue, during that training you have linemen, right? So you have the officers that you would see on the line, for example. But if there were a citizen that ended up in a severe situation where they were being beaten to death or something like that, and a team was made available, they'll come in there with force and they'll go right through wherever they need to go to get to that person and do a rescue. They're not going to stay there necessarily to effect an arrest as much as get in there, get that innocent person rescued, and get out. So this is it's a very interesting dynamic what's going on right now. We initially, we thought this was happening everywhere but Utah. Now it's happening here, and there are a lot of brave men and women who are just standing by in the shadows right now waiting to respond to a critical incident, especially a call for help of an innocent person that may be being beaten up or severely injured by someone, at least maybe not right now, but maybe later on if things escalate, that could happen. So they need to be prepared for that with rescue teams. Any other questions or thoughts or comments? You're welcome to share on here. And while I'm waiting for questions to come in, I just want to tell you guys, it's not worth it to go out. If which I'm telling you right now, they've gone beyond a regular protest. It's just better to stay home and avoid those areas. I have no idea. I know that we had someone say there may be a protest in Provo tonight. Stay away from that area. Okay, this is a really good question. When do we as people stand up? I think that one of the biggest things that we can do is we need to be more vocal than these other idiots, and we need to let law enforcement know, in spite of bad actors here and there, very, very few, we still support them. Okay, so coming back to what's the use of force on protesters? Police officers typically are not going to use deadly force on a protester if that protester or any person is not using deadly force on them or an innocent person. So they may, you guys have seen this before, so I'm not giving away any secrets, but they may use pepper spray, they may use some type of a tear gas or other irritant. I know they were shooting rubber bullets, and that's a very broad term, but that's called less lethal. Sometimes they have to do that. to disperse the crowd. If you were making a rescue, if you had to rescue someone, like I said, an innocent person happened to wander into this and they're trying to get out. I don't know if you guys remember Rodney King, but Reginald Denning was pulled out of his truck and beaten almost to death with a brick. If something like that were to happen, the officers will feel compelled to go in there and do a rescue, and they may clear their path using irritants or less lethal shots just to get people to get out of the way while they go make that rescue. But I don't think that you're going to see a lot of engagement with the police officers. They're going to try to avoid that as long as nobody else is at physical risk, bodily harm or death. The officers are going to try to exercise as much restraint as possible. But again, make no mistake about it. The moment that an innocent life is in peril and they find out about it, they will do their best to execute a rescue. So you can count on that. Any other questions or thoughts? I think it's interesting that I had a conversation about this morning with my daughter, who is a police officer, and I was just saying, "Are you guys prepared?" And of course they are, but she's like, "Do you think it will happen here?" And I said, "Yes." So one of the things, okay, let me read this. This is one of the things that's hard for me. I feel they are so much louder than we are. Man, that is so true. The agitators are so much louder than we are. And we want to respond, and we want to go out there. We want to, some of us want to take up arms. Am I right? Some of you want to take up arms. You want to go and feel like you're protecting the city that these idiots, especially considering that most of the violent ones are not even from Salt Lake, are going to try to destroy or are, doing things against. But I'm with you. I feel that frustration. Guys, if anyone understands where you're coming from, I've stood on the line. I've had shit thrown at me before. Actually, that's not quite accurate. I have stood out there, but I've also been on the SWAT end of it when we've had things go down and we've got to go and we're just waiting to go do the rescue. That's even scarier. Yeah, I know. But then we put ourselves in a position where at what point, if you want to physically interfere to protect a piece of property that the police is saying, "Hey man, you know what, if you're going to burn it, burn it. We'll have to deal with it later." It's really hard for us to justify us going out there and saying, "Well, we just can't stand by and watch this." But I think we just need to support law enforcement more vocally all the time. And in Utah, by the way, I think this is one of the very few states, maybe a handful of states in the United States, where I feel that 90% of the population here is extremely supportive of law enforcement. They have the police officers' backs, and they show that not just through verbal commitment, but through their actions too. Let's see. No, they don't deserve this. Our police officers are being crucified right now. So, okay, so I don't know what the status of my daughter is right now. I would imagine all officers are being put on call, but let me go back. So someone asked about the out-of-staters, and then I see someone's throwing down something about Black Lives, and they caravan down. Yes, they do. I'm not specifically just going to say it's Black Lives Matter, but you guys know, if you don't know what Antifa is, I consider them to be domestic terrorists. These are people, here's the craziest thing, is if you statistically look at some of the major riots we've had over the last few years in other cities, Antifa comes in there, these people from out of state, and let's just say it's a predominantly black neighborhood where something bad happened, and they're protesting, which is their right, and probably justifiably so. But Antifa slips in there with their masks and everything else, and they're the first ones to break doors and break glass and encourage people to go loot. And they're white. They're terrorists. They're from somewhere else. They come in, they are the fuse. They come in and they are the fuse that lights the dynamite. And then they just step back and watch what they've started. and they encourage these people to destroy their own neighborhoods in some cases. And they're trying to start a fight. They would love nothing more than to see police officers shoot with real bullets protesters, right? Because that'll be the story that's told. People protested, the police shot them down. That's the story Antifa's looking for. So these people, they are from out of state, and there are a lot of agents and agencies that are aware of them. But anyway, the whole Black Lives Matter thing, I'm real careful about judging them because I don't want to throw a wide net over them. I think that there are some good people there trying to execute some good change. And you have to understand, you and me, we only see what we see on the surface, right? It depends on who we follow. What news agency is your primary feed? Then that's the spin you're going to get on a lot of stuff. So when it comes to some of these other groups, I don't necessarily believe that they're the start of it. Antifa and some of these other guys, these agitators, 100%. We need to grab them, we need to catch them, and they need to be, we need to hammer them with the full extent of the law. Those are the guys that we need to find. So, yes, there are organizations that pay protesters. I don't know that they pay them to be destructive and violent, but they don't have to pay them to be destructive and violent. Like, for example, if you pay, let's just say you pay a bouncer, right, at your strip club in some sleazy part of town, right, and you're like, hey, dude, look, all I'm telling you is no one comes in here that doesn't have this or do this or that. That bouncer, you didn't tell him how to do it. You just told him no one comes in here. Now, the guy's 6'4" and he's super muscular and he's got really good fighting skills. He's probably going to end up punching someone in the face. That was the unexpected or unsaid expectation of that contract. So I think a lot of those protesters that are paid, they feel like that's expected. But definitely there are organizations out there that are pushing people into this to make it bigger than it is because they have a different agenda. Their agenda is chaos. They are anti-government, anti-police. So when everything is said and done, and George Floyd and this whole situation maybe starts to ease a little bit, and some hero comes in and is able to negotiate and unite law enforcement, unite the community, hopefully someone in our group, right? Someone says, look, let's sit down and let's talk about this like adults. Let's figure this out. If that happens, then those agitators, they lose. But they'll be there waiting for the next opportunity to take and convert a protest into a riot. Those are the people that are dangerous. Those are the people we need to find. Those are people we need to arrest, and those are people we need to prosecute. Okay, no way that was by accident. Powder Cake, sorry I missed what you're talking about. Probably because I was on a little bit of a rant. But anyway, look, I've got a friend that just signed on. I won't say who it is, but some of you are in places in other cities where this is happening, and it happened last night, and you're like, what do we do? And just to reiterate what I said earlier, especially for people that are just coming on here, you just stay home. We got to stay home, guys. At this point, it's just not worth it. No matter how curious you are, it's just not worth getting involved, guys. I've been out there, and let me give you guys, if you don't mind, just indulge me for a second. Let me share with you a little bit of perspective from these officers that are right now in Salt Lake City and other cities around the nation that are standing in the line. You're standing there and things are blowing up around you. What you and I think are water bottles are urine bottles filled with urine or acid or some other gross shit that are being thrown at these officers. They're not allowed to react. They're not allowed to respond as long as it's not creating great bodily, harm or injury. They just got to stand there and take it. they're getting hit with rocks. They're getting hit with bricks in some cases. We saw that last night at the White House. And those officers, there's no retaliation. There's nothing they can do but go get stitched up. And they're being called a lot of things. And these are the same people that are taking this abuse. These are the same people that tomorrow, that POS that threw the bodily urine, tomorrow he's going to call them when there's an accident and he and his passengers in the car are critically injured and the car's on fire. They're going to call the police, and those same officers are going to respond there and risk their lives going into that burning car to get them out before they die. I don't know. I'm just telling you, I've been there. I've sat there, I've gone through this. I've been the guy on that side of it more than once, and I can't comprehend it. But what gives officers comfort is you, all of you that are on here right now watching this. What gives officers comfort is when good people that matter, tell them, we appreciate you. Thank you for your service. We're grateful for you. Thanks for doing the job. When they just hear that, those simple words of thank you or I appreciate you, it literally makes up for all of the stuff that they're going through right now. We need to support them. We need to tell them how much we appreciate them. We need to let them know that we recognize what they're going through and do anything we can to help and support those officers, especially, emotionally and, as a community. Okay, what do you think more officers and departments aren't speaking out against officers? Well, okay, that's another good question by Ash Brown. I think that would be a really big assumption on other people's part to say that that's not happening. I think that there are a lot of departments where people speak out about an officer that is, not towing the line or that that's a bad apple, let's say. So I think that more than maybe we know, because we're not in there with the police department. I think more and more of these officers are being pushed out, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. And guys, let me tell you something. I just want to respond to this gal's question really quick. How do we solve the bad officer problem? Guys, I have the answer. Okay? And this should go viral. The answer to solving a problem of bad officers is those people that are pissed off about bad officers, walk your ass down there, get an application, and sign up and change it. Don't just talk about it. Don't just complain about it. Change it. Go sign up, put yourself through the academy, get out there on the street and make a difference. That's how we'll solve this problem. We need more good cops. That's what we need. More people saying less and doing more. Go serve your community, and then you can help work from inside that department to make it the best department it can be. All right. I'm not sure I understood the question about the strategy that they're using. So could you rephrase that or send it again? I really want to address that question. Yeah, so, okay, talking about more and more people. I'm sorry, I'm hearing that there's looting now in Salt Lake City that's starting. And you guys are watching live on TV. I'm not, it's in the other room. I'm doing this live for you. But yes, look, the problem that we have, guys, is media. The media can spin things any way that they want. Conservatives are going to look at Fox News, and Fox News is going to spin it one way, and then you're going to have a liberal media. They're going to come on there, and CNN, I'm just giving you examples, going to spin it a completely different way. And they're going to make the burning of buildings and other things about this bad cop, when that wasn't, the protest was about the bad cop, not the violence. How does that make sense? So it just depends. You know, the media can spin it any way that they want to. And let's be honest, we're human beings, right? We all have a belief system. So if you're more conservative, you're going to look for your information from that type of a, you know, of a media profile, one that's more conservative. And if you have a more liberal background, or if that's the way that you think, you're going to look for your information there. So it's really hard for us to, number one, to get the truth, and number two, for us to have a conversation with a neighbor who says, man, I see this all the time. I actually had someone talk to me the other day, and you know, he made his point, which was how dangerous it is to be a black man in the United States because the cops are going to kill you. And I thought that was broad, and he was open, very open, by the way. You know, he wasn't a closed-minded person. He was just saying that that's how it seems. But I'm a statistics guy. Show me the numbers. You know, that's not what the numbers bear. If you look at every single arrest made by a police officer in the United States, what is the percentage of those arrests where a white cop kills a black person? So, but the media is going to grab it, and they're going to blow it up, and they're going to make it seem like it's happening every day. Okay, now I'm not defending one way or the other. All I'm saying is, no matter what the facts are, they can be manipulated any way that anybody wants them to go. Okay, let me see. Yes, Antifa has a plan. Yes, I can't look. That's a really good question. Do the cops have a strategy to deal with Antifa? Yes, they do. And it will be effective. The law enforcement is very good at evolving. Well, you know, most agencies. And Antifa's on the radar with all this stuff. But to come out and tell the general public, hey, we're targeting these guys, this is what we're doing, da-da-da. We don't want to do that. And I say we, I'm not a cop anymore, but generally speaking, we don't want to do that because they're very good. They're very fluid. They can shift very quickly. But law enforcement is watching them. They're onto them. And everybody right now is playing a chess game. But we need to shut these guys down. And as a society, if everyone was aware that they were there, then that would help a lot. But right now, probably on this little feed that I'm doing, a lot of you didn't even know who Antifa was, and that they're the ones, these anarchists, that are, you know, perpetuating the violence and taking a protest and you know, converting it into a riot because of the way that they're acting. They know how to do this. They understand the dynamics of that protest and how to shift it into becoming a violent encounter. And they're looking for that. They are looking for a violent encounter with law enforcement so they can spin it the way that they want to when they show the video. So, yeah, and there may be some of you on here that have a bigger background than I do in this. And, you know, if it's good information, you're more than welcome to tell us what you think is going on. But, you know, okay, what's a good unbiased news source? Man, I don't know. The way that I do it, because I struggle with that, that's a great question, is I'm conservative, so I'll watch, you know, I'll get a feed from Fox, but I also get a feed from the BBC. And believe it or not, I've gotten some good information off of Al Jazeera sometimes. So there are a lot of them out there, and I just kind of get a feed, alerts from all these different ones. You'll see the spin, it's pretty obvious, but somewhere in the middle lies the truth. And so I just try and navigate it that way. Anyway, okay, let's see. Yeah, you guys, okay, someone is saying Associated Press is pretty good. I'm not really sure. I've seen some of their stuff, but I've also, yeah, never mind. I've had stuff happen in Afghanistan that I was involved in, and then I watched it on the next day, and I'm like, where are they getting that info? But that actually may be the source of how it was going out of Afghanistan. So, yeah, you know, I just saw the comment about how surface level slogans are. They don't even know what they're protesting at this point. because it's become violent. And so I noticed that today in Salt Lake, as things started to deteriorate, a lot of the news anchors were asking these kids, they're very young, a lot of them, why are you doing this? What's this about? They didn't want to say. I think they didn't know. They're saying no justice, no peace. And then the news reporter's like, explain that. What specifically are you talking about? And nobody wanted to talk about it. They didn't really know why they were out there. And that's pretty indicative of that sheep herd mentality. Someone starts flipping over cars and burning them, and everybody riots around and jumps on them and starts participating, and the cause is lost. And the people that were protesting the appropriate cause in the first place probably are very frustrated because their message has now been diluted. What's the focus? The focus is not George Floyd and justice for him and his family anymore. The focus is all these idiots, burning this city. So it's really tough. Okay. Yeah, sheep. Someone said sheep. You're right. Sheep. This is a big problem for us. But we also, this is my cautionary note to you and to me. We also need to consider the emotion with which we respond to all of this. I had someone that sent me a message. It wasn't one message, but I'm just thinking of one in particular. When are you going to say something about this? Because this has been going on for 3 or 4 days now, and today was the first time I mentioned something, and all I did was post a picture of that cop and that young man from 2014, or 2016, hugging. We got to figure this out, guys. We got to remember not to be emotional in our response. We need to think ahead and say, how is this going to help? Thank you. I've got someone from Metro PD, Las Vegas Metro, I'm guessing. That's my brother was a cop in Las Vegas for 23 years. I was a cop in North Las Vegas. We've seen a lot of bad shit down there. And anyway, good. We're grateful for law enforcement. And guys, one of the most heartbreaking things of all of this is the timing, because we lost a young police officer who ran in a home a couple days ago to protect an innocent woman from a diabolical murderer. And he went without hesitation. He went to the door to try and get between her and this bad guy. And he was killed for his efforts. And we don't even get a chance right now to mourn and talk about him appropriately, the way that we should, because all of this other garbage that is going on and taking the headlines right now, it's his sacrifice has gotten lost in that, and it breaks my heart, because this is a 24-year-old kid with 15 months on it, Ogden PD, and as young as he was, without hesitation, he gave his life to try and protect an innocent person. I'd love to see more focus on that, but unfortunately, this is something we need to discuss because it's happening right here where we live, and I'm hoping that it doesn't last longer than tonight. But one of the things that I'm hoping for and I'm praying for, and all of you that have heard me here, and I'm pleading to you, let's support these officers tonight that are going to be standing in line at the Capitol, the Salt Lake Police Department, Unified Police Department, any other officers that are going to be out there. I know the FBI will have agents out there, and other federal agencies waiting to rescue people or to step in and protect innocent lives. Let's think about them tonight. Let's remember that they all have families, that they're people that are without hesitation willing to die for the rest of us, people that they don't even know. And let's support them, and let's be more vocal in our support for that community than for these idiots that are out there that have taken a just cause, okay, and turned it into this circus of violent, stupid acts. Anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you for getting on here and asking some questions and just letting me ramble a little bit. And I'm going to sign off, and then I'll post this so that you guys can get to it or share it with your friends. Thanks again. I love you guys. Please stay home and stay safe tonight.